Alright everybody, we are back on one of the greatest map in War of Rights, and that is Hagerstown Turnpike. It is a Union attacking map. We are kind of back with the CSA. The CSA is playing it a bit forward here. Quite aggressive defense here. So we have the CSA in the woods. We'll show you the officers in just a moment, but we actually have some action. I bring you in about 5 minutes in, but the tickets had barely moved up until the Union just took a big ticket dump.
Charge him now.
That is, the Union's dumped a bunch of their tickets. Yeah, that's what I meant. And it can be confusing on the colors. 14th Brooklyn's got a lot of red on. Frequently, I think of the CSA as having more red in their uniforms on average. And then the CSA also has the baggy pants fellows. And, yeah, it just makes it a little bit more confusing. But this is not going well for the Union. It really was much closer like 2 minutes ago. But here we are. This Union group's going to pull up late. And while we still got action, we'll let the action roll. This Union group might be in trouble because they have a second company shooting them on the high ground. The flag is...
Get this flag up, please.
That's true. CSA has a group way back there, so there must be a Union company off in the defilade, skirmishing them out. Yeah, Toot's group was going to be in a rough spot because that other Union company that should be there supporting them was more or less wiped and needed a regroup. So they're going to do that. They're going to take some Oh, did they not get the flag out? I thought their flag was up. So if it's down and dropped there, you know, it's yet again the flag bearer's got to be fleet of foot. But Union over here doing Union skirmish things. It's a shame that those red uniforms have to look so terrible all spread out in loose formation. But hey, some people like to do well in this game. It's never really been my forte. So don't listen to me. But yeah, they're out here. They're skirming. The Union artillery there in Brockenbrough, that's that battery. They are protected by a CSA company there. And I guess that's why the CSA could throw 3 companies up. Where's the 4th Union company? I guess this will be our chance to find out our officers. All right, so that person is new because if they were muted now, they weren't an officer a minute ago. Chungus, Skynet, Pieman, Toot. Yeah, you have some folks on here with some experience, so it should be all right. And but yeah, there are Babui, Oilman, Skynet, and Toot. So I don't know why I didn't see the 4th Union Company, but maybe they will appear. Oh, that's what they're doing. All right, they're doing that hill skirmish thing. That hill skirmish thing, if you don't understand, so this is where the Union artillery is.
Now I'm taking one of your stuff.
It's just one battery in it. They usually try to push up to this hill. I think that what the CSA is doing now is not uncommon, but it always seems like it tends to fail in the long run because they expose themselves too much. They bleed too many tickets too fast, especially when they're fighting on the front side of that hill. The far Union right side, CSA left, is kind of this part of the woods, and the Union will frequently take a position behind this hill, and then as they feel necessary, they'll run up and they'll shoot the CSA if they're in that fence and tree line there, or, right, and this is another reason why you don't want to play that far forward as the CSA, is that the Union can just peek this hill, they can put a line, and they have excellent enfilade or flanking angles up depending on how you are looking at them, and so they'll force you out of there with high casualties. The Union's pulled it back a little bit, but they right now they seem like they're likely to go engaged first. But Union Arty is back on its guns. I mean, this is the kind of more conventional. It's, you know, take the hill, and, you know, you shoot the CSA if they're in the woods. If they're out in the field, you shoot them. The CSA, you can see that group right here. It's either this tree. I think this tree. When I've done my... Yeah, this is... There you go. This position right here is right about where the Union will start running out. And so if you're the CSA, you can sit here. There's a bit of a defilade with the hill. Not completely, but there's something. And then you can always run away if it gets too bad, and you can flex right. I guess they wanted to rush over here. I mean, they're going to get here way before the Union is. I've never loved this assignment. Although I've done it a number of times, I think it's just kind of a steady, you know, drip drip, and you're hoping to do more casualties. The CSA's got 2 flags they've invested, and that's on the back side of their map. So if you don't know, this is, I don't know if this is actually out of bounds for the Union or if it's just close to it. But we're now on the back side of Brockenborough, looking back toward the point, which is the lone tree there. Well, it's in and around the lone tree on the turnpike. It's actually kind of awkward, but...
I mean, but they can't see their kills either.
Yeah, and, you know, from this angle, the CSA kind of disappear. These guys up here have some of my favorite shots in War of Rights artillery. Certainly on this rise is one. And then this map also has another one that I really like, and it's actually right where this gun is. I found that you can put canister in a smoothbore, and you bring it here, you angle it towards the point. If you get charged up by Union infantry, you just run for the cover of out of bounds, maybe friendly infantry. But Union infantry does not like getting canistered at this range, or even if you have shot or case, you can still do damage there. Make people regret it. So yeah, Union goes engaged first. CSA has a pretty healthy tickets advantage. CSA is certainly, between the guns, the infantry, and the space of open ground, this is a pretty terrible position for the Union. They did not cap early. At 32 minutes on the black timer, they might want to start thinking about cap, recap. But they ain't there yet, and we have the CSA, the gentle as a lamb infantry group, and that Union infantry has nothing but really long-range shots to make. Yeah, you can kill people when they're not paying attention, and like these out of lines here. Yeah. Usually there's an infantry officer, but the CSA quickly goes engaged after that, and the Union is putting cap weight down. Those guys are probably all going to die out of formation. I'm not sure I understand that one. The Union seemed to have actually been pulling it back in their favor until they did that, and now I'm just flummoxed. I mean, this group has waited here so long that their opponents almost came back to them when they were... This group is just... This long-range plink. I don't think this group here is all that large anymore. Did they move a second? No, it's not a second flag. That's just a person with red pants. Anyways, all right, we have the Union moving up here. See, they get the protection of a little bit of low ground before they emerge on the turnpike. The CSA are embedded in those caissons. That's a lot of Union. That's a lot of Union. How quickly will reinforcements get here? You gotta like that approach. I'm just gonna shoot and hope for the best. But you can see why it's kind of confusing, right? The uniforms. I guess if you look at the pants more than other things, it'll probably help. Yeah, Union lost a lot of tickets there relative to what they took from the CSA. The Union just seems all over the place, right? You got a company back here. That flag is really confusing me. This group did not support that charge. There wasn't enough to cap anyways. The Union are losing a whole bunch of out of formation here. I don't know what the Union officers are doing. And you have one company that's... They're just doing these silly pop volleys, which are like... If it's uber close on tickets, alright, maybe you do that. But the Union needs to concentrate, assert themselves onto the point, and force the CSA to come back to them. Or at least take and hold this mound. I don't know why we'd bring guns up just to shoot into the woods. What is this? 50 yards away? Just let the infantry do it, right? Your artillery is the long arm. Even if it's canister and it looks cool, like you've just invested, what, 15 minutes? Maybe, probably out of line deaths to do all that for what? A few canister volleys? We'll see, though. Frequently, the Union on Hagerstown looks to me like they're losing. And then somehow at the very end, they pull it back. I don't know that this is going to be that round. We will see. That's why we're watching it. All right. So maybe Toot's going up to cap. Maybe he's just going up to draw the CSA out. But it looks like the Union now. Yeah, so they got two Union companies that are trying to pinch that CSA company. That CSA company understandably wants no part of that and is withdrawing. So the Union's going to show themselves in the open. CSA doesn't like the attention the artillery and the infantry is giving them in the fixed caissons. And so they're going to pull back to the safety of that quasi-defilade and the gun in front of them, or maybe they just put on the running boots. For those who have boots. And that might now be the strength of two companies. Alright, so wisely, this group pulls back before they take an engagement they're going to lose. Alright, so there's the lamb flag. So that's our... tells us that our... Try to get everybody here. Like moths to a flame. CSA is going to post up here. They see 3 guns, and they're going to charge them.
Full sprint.
Whoa! Was that a TK? I think that was an RDTK, which even if it didn't, or maybe if it wasn't, it at least broke up the charge, and like that's 5 seconds. I think they're still gonna collapse the Union over here. Looks like the Union actually might have. Did they hold back here? Toot just needs more shots. Yeah, this Union company might be a little late to the party. It might just feed some more. And the Pajama Boys, they're gonna go kill the AFK guy. True heroes of war rights. Yeah, this is why you gotta concentrate rather than staying dispersed while the enemy concentrates. This is the critique of the Union. They stayed spread out when the CSA was concentrating against their enemy, their friendlies, and they had time earlier to meet that concentration, but by staying dispersed and taking the fight, and then taking the fight again, they just allowed the other side to concentrate twice against them, and, you know, numbers win. And that's how you find yourself down 40% of a morale stage going into taking losses. This is just terrible right here. Yeah. You're going to go up, you're going to die at a line, you're then going to have to go respawn back here for a spite move. You lost your guns. It is what it is. I guess unless you're out of ammo, right? But I don't even understand the officers who do that. Like, just escape, redeploy, respawn, or ask somebody to TK you. Those things are less bad than dying out of line, particularly when your team is down tickets, right? But now this allows the CSA to take back this forward position. Again, I don't think that position is great, because this company, when they get their numbers here, that's a great angle, right? That's a great angle if that group lines up to deal with the Union who are back here. You have a bunch of arty guys who are out of formation because there aren't 6 of them. So best case scenario is they die in skirmishing, but this is near Union spawn. CSA knows it. They're clumped up. Did the Union keep any guns back at spawn? They did not. Well, there's also a lesson there. Leave at least 1 gun back. I guess this one, it doesn't really count, but it's closer to leaving it back at spawn. For just such an occasion.
Right in there.
Yeah. So the Union's got a pretty good pinch on that CSA group. The CSA group realizes they've already done what they set out to do. Best not to bleed any more tickets. And they're going to at least pull back to the reverse so this group can't shoot them. That should allow this group to move up relatively unimpeded, but it's not a huge group. And I guess out of spawn, that other okay, now that other company's coming down here.
Into that flag, boys. You got their flank. You have a great shot. You are about to make them into taking losses. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah. That is certainly all true. Probably, if you wanted to make your group get shot less, this is not a critique of anybody, but there is this ridge here, and you can, just as the Union, just come up and you get your line like this, and then you're just shooting right in their sides.
Back to our spot.
And the bottom, 70% of your sprite there is going to be covered up by the hill. All right, so the Union's now got 3 companies down on the south side. I think the CSA has 2. I think it's what is commonly referred to as the Confederate battle flag, and I think the Gentle has a lamb one.
Fire down the hill, independent fire.
Yeah, and we see 2 CSA companies up there. So that Union, oh, wow. Oops, nobody gave him the word. I'm pretty sure that company ran this way, but that really breaks up, and maybe it's that group's flag. That could be. But that group is actually doing a great job because they basically nullified one CSA company, right, by forcing 2 to shoot at them when they're largely just tanking the damage. That should be fine. So through maneuver and a bit of shooting, the Union has gained a pretty good spot. I don't know if they really want to invest too much more in the artillery that's up here. The CSA should still be... The CSA is still really a ways off. And dedicating 2 flags, 2 companies to one group in what is basically a long-range pillow fight doesn't make sense to me. But they may not know that there are 3 Union companies over here, plus Union artillery. Man. And it looks like the CSA is thinking better of this. I wonder... Does the Union want to go to cap here? Yeah, they got the CSA to taking losses with, 21 minutes plus on the clock. So it's a good burn rate. They just got to be concerned that they're going to go final push with too many CSA tickets left. And so maybe they use the next 10 or 15 minutes to try to even things up. There's enough tickets left that the Union could do it. Or at least they could make it much closer. One of the reasons I love this map is that it is winnable for the defenders in pubs and also in organized play. I also like the arty density. I mean, it makes it a bit of a massacre here, but it's a lot of artillery packed into a small area. I think Pogue has 4 guns up there. I think Brockenbrough has 5 or 6 for the CSA, and then the Union back here. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 6. It's a lot of artillery for a map that is. Really, it's a contest over the lane right up to that tree. All right, the CSA is still content. All right, now they're bringing all their companies over. They're going to try to pull the old switcheroo and put 4 companies against the Union's 3. All right, now the CSA is... I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to sit in the quasi-defilade. I mean, this is the payoff. If you persevere and you pay the tickets to get them up here, you can certainly shell the woods if that's your thing. You're also a target for CSA artillery because they know where the Union goes on this map all the time. And it's easy to hit. And usually if you misses the CSA, you're still going to hit Union infantry. And sometimes friendlies, but... the ticket burn rate seems... or, I'm sorry. The relative ticket trade seems to be getting worse for the Union. So I haven't noticed many intentional Rambo out-of-line deaths for the Union.
Hold your shots, boys. Hold your
But
shots.
something is bleeding their tickets
You're
here.
fine. Shut up.
Also, authentic Civil War roleplay. This is definitely a particularly Battery Brockenbrough is a really fun CSA. I already want. You got to keep your head on the swivel a bit. Certainly more so in Pogue, which is it always feels so dangerous. But I have a lot of fun on this map. Oh, looks like Union already came in and. You know what's always funny is that all those guys get up, but all their blood is still on the ground. And so I wonder, like, how much blood do they have left in them? Because the animation still shows it all coming out, but these are the things you think about when you're in a long-range shootout in War of Rights and you're casting it from the disembodied voice angle. Cool. We got 14th Brooklynites up here. They're about...
There's a long-ass line.
That is correct.
You see a
This is about the extent of where the Union can go without being in the timeout. I'll take you into the woods. Don't get scared. Turn the lights on if you're scared. But, you know, this is how the CSA, they can pull back. There's a lot of concealment, quite a bit of cover. Just things that break up the effectiveness of any sort of Union attack. Alright, sounded like the CSA was going to pull out, judging by the miracle working of the T button. It looks like they are. Union's about to go breaking. CSA's only about 40% of the way through taking losses, and so CSA has to be very happy with how they've fared so far. This is also, you know, post update 199, which dropped only a little while ago. I think the CSA... I gotta look this up. I don't know. I thought the CSA defenders actually got a ticket buff on this one. I don't think that they needed it, or they didn't need as much as what I thought I saw, but this is one that even pre-update I felt like defenders usually had a pretty good... And if there was no ticket difference, I wouldn't be surprised that this is just not the CSA officers and the rank and file just outplaying the infantry. That could be the case. Hard to say. I feel bad for this group out here. But I have also played maps, I think this is organized, I don't remember if it's organized or pubs, where we pretty much just knelt somewhere in a defilade around here, and we actually just shot for about 20 minutes. Yeah, it was a historical rules event. Maybe it was over here a little bit. And sure enough, we did that. I think we charged out Pogue.
What's up with our flag?
I think we just capped and held it, and that was it. Maybe it was Boy Howdy. I don't remember. I don't know what happened to your flag. Alright, so the Union's pushing up aggressively here. That was a shot that just mushed the guy it went through. Union's got to be a little careful here, but they can also take some risks because they're down. And so I'm not sure if playing it straight up in a shootout is going to work. The CSA, some of them are real far back and trying to preserve their tickets. Probably trying to delay going breaking before 9 minutes. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it. Union is about to go breaking, any casualty now. But maybe the Union is thinking about a recap scenario. one of the downsides of playing this far back is the CSA. I guess it's more optical delusion, right? They're not actually that far from this point, but if the Union are able to creep up here, embed themselves on the point at, you know, moderate cost, they can force the CSA through capping early to come to them and give back that CSA ticket lead. And so it is the way at this point, if it's going to happen. I think this group at 14th Brooklyn, this company, luckily for them, yeah, the CSA group that is in the woods has not rolled up on their flank. They might be moving in that direction. Yeah. But, you know, the Union just went breaking. The CSA has only got about 15% or so left before they go breaking. All right. They can get these reloads in. Wonder if the CSA knows the Union might go to... Yeah. Waited a bit too long, but... This Union group, I don't know if they can read that that they've basically been abandoned, and that those are the only guys they need to worry about. This is rough for Union, because it's so easy to hit you from everywhere. It also means that you have 2 companies out of that fight. The 3rd got wrecked up there. The 4th is over here, and so your artillery is completely naked. Now, if the CSA, and the CSA doesn't look like they've dispatched anybody to deal with that yet. They're instead consolidating themselves, and they look like they don't want... I don't know, am I glitched out, or is the Union just really not on cap? Because I'm showing nothing there from cap. Yeah, okay, so the CSA is going in now. The Union needs to just pull away from this. I know that they don't want to give up the space, but they're going to burn through their tickets too quickly. This Union company is really the only way to save that company. They need to pull back further. Yeah. Again, we can see it from up here. That company, those companies are too far away to do much of anything, but, you know, CSA's gone breaking. Yeah, Union's about 20% of the way through, though. Yeah, you got it. Okay, it looked cool, but you got to abandon your guns. And you got to run as arty guys. Yeah. The Union's on cap. The CSA will come back to them. Union's got to get those flags up. And the CSA is going to come down from the hill. I mean, the CSA has really wrapped everything, and I think that they should have no problem throwing this attack back. They're converging from both sides on the Union group here. The Union group needs to pull their flags back. CSA already hit. They're not going to win this, but they can at least make the CSA bleed a bit here. But they got to get those flags back. They do not want to go final push when they don't have those flags. They're not going to win this cap race. Once you fall behind in a hot shootout like this, you're never going to come back, because the other side is going to be spawning in just as fast. I know you're near spawn. I don't know how many of these guys have loads. No, they do have bayonets. It's possible they have loads, but the CSAs, now that they've shot their shot, they're just going to come in for the stabs. And they're going to try to finish the Union off piecemeal. Yeah, now the flag bearers are following those infantry guys who are trickling in. And that is suboptimal. As no one says ever, but yeah, that's what that was. Oh well. I don't really see a way for the Union to come back now. They got about 35% left of breaking before they go final push. The CSA's got about 55% left of breaking before they go last stand. The Union has managed to lose 3 flags out of 4. Union already's back on its guns. The CSA looks like they're going to start popping them. They may charge them out yet again. That looked like, yeah, that was... If it didn't get any team kills, it was friendly fire. CSA is going to go charge out Union already one more time. We might as well watch that. It gives us something to do. Yeah, the Union doesn't need to send guys up to recover their flags out of formation. And though that was admirable, you're trading an out of line for nothing. So again, arty play, so much of it is just recognizing when you need to pull out, and it absolutely boggles my mind the number of high-level players that will stay in and take an out of line, take a skirmishing death for nothing or for an information kill. But they do it. So generally, the arty guys who are doing it for a while, they're not the single digits, right? They're more experienced players, and you just got to know when to run, man. Yeah, CSA now has not quite a concave. It's pretty much just a line that extends, this being their left, and it kind of just goes down to the turnpike, the Hogue, and all the rest. But yeah, that's terrible for the Union. They went fine. They managed to lose all those tickets, and they still have a flag down, so they can't spawn anybody in. CSA's got about 45% of braking left. We'll see if they go final push here. Or final push. We'll see if the CSA even goes last stand, but I think the Union had a chance when they just went braking and they needed to keep cooler heads, and it did not end well. So usually this move is done prior.
It's unreal.
Prior to the also Civil War quote. Sometimes the Union, before they charge point, they'll come up here, they'll try to clear out CSA already and then come down the turnpike. You can do that when time is on your side, but when you're in final push down a flag and the other side isn't that close to last stand, you don't have the time for this movement. And what happened is, by going the long way, it allowed the CSA to fight that group in the center, defeat them, spawn on flag, and they should be ready for this group by the time this group gets here. Doesn't mean it'll happen. The CSA could lose a flag here. I don't know why the CSA is pushing that way. I mean, it does look cool. I guess their left alt keys are broken in the CSA, and they couldn't look to their right as they charged out in the field. You know, there is a slight chance, I don't think it's going to happen, that the CSA is running so far off point that the Union... Yeah, that the Union's just going to come in. All right, but the CSA had a company back here. They got a flag up. Yeah. So they actually did. And, you know, now the Union's just going to cycle charge this point. That is true. I don't think it's going to be enough. The Union doesn't have any cap weight. They almost flirted with it, but the Union's not going to be able to get the bodies on point fast enough, and that is going to be GG. That ended up being much closer at the end than it should have, and I said a lot of times on this map, the Union kind of just pulls it out at the last minute. So I think if the Union had been a bit more disciplined, not thrown away those tickets and some of those ticket dumps, and basically otherwise played it straight, they needed about 30 more seconds on the clock before they would have maybe start to pull the cap back. The CSA would still get a spawn wave, so I don't know that would have been enough, but Union's just got to keep its cool on Hagerstown Turnpike. It's usually not as bad as it's sometimes seen. They just got to keep it close until final push, last stand, and then try to attrit out the CSA from there. So we'll see what casualties are here. A lot of out of lines. I mean, this is an early fight, right? Taking losses engaged, and the Union's 2-1 in out of lines, and they're over 100 out of 650 casualties. The skirmishing deaths are dead even, but the out of lines are almost 2-1 higher for the Union. Yeah, skirmishing ones at the end are almost dead even. Information is a little bit higher than the Union, but it really is a story, as is so often the case, of who died out of line more. So, anyways, it was as enjoyable as Hagerstown Turnpike always is. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too, and I hope to have you back for the next one.